Single dad spent Christmas alone until his female CEO knocked at his door at midnight. At 11:58 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Daniel Harper sat alone at his kitchen table, staring at a tiny plastic Christmas tree that blinked in uneven rhythms, one light flickering like it was too tired to keep going. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. 3 days earlier, Daniel had dropped his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, off at the airport. She was spending Christmas with her mother in another state, a court-ordered arrangement he couldn't fight and couldn't afford to challenge. He had smiled the whole time. He'd waved. He said, "Daddy, got big plans for Christmas, kiddo." He lied. Now the silence pressed in on him like winter frost creeping across the windows. Snow fell steadily outside, blurring the streetlights. On the windowsill sat Lily's construction paper snowman with googly eyes and a crooked smile. Under it, in purple crayon, she had written, "For Daddy so he won't be lonely." Daniel exhaled slowly. He wasn't just lonely. He was exhausted. 6 months earlier, he'd nearly lost his job at one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Chicago. When Lily got pneumonia in the spring, Daniel had used up all his sick days. He'd worked late nights from the hospital chair, laptop balanced on his knees, refusing to fall behind. He never asked for help. He couldn't. Being a single dad meant there was no backup. And his boss, the company's sharp, intimidating CEO, Victoria Hale, was not known for softness. Victoria Hale was a force, the kind of leader who turned failing departments profitable in months, polished, precise, always in control. Daniel assumed she barely knew he existed. Earlier that afternoon, the company holiday party photos flooded social media, crystal chandeliers, catered dinners, champagne towers. Daniel hadn't gone. He told HR he had family plans. Another lie. At 11:59 p.m. his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And then, a knock at the door. Daniel froze. No one knocked at midnight on Christmas Eve unless something was wrong. His heart began to pound. He stood, walked carefully to the door, and opened it. There, framed by falling snow and golden hallway light, stood Victoria Hale. Not in a power suit, not in heels, but in a long wool coat, boots dusted with snow, holding a small wrapped box in one hand and a paper bag in the other. For a full 5 seconds, neither of them spoke. "Mr. Harper," she said softly, almost unsure of herself, "may I come in?" Daniel's brain scrambled for logic. This had to be a mistake. "Is there something wrong?" he asked. Victoria shook her head. "No, something's right." She stepped inside. The apartment was modest: second-hand couch, chipped coffee table, the small artificial tree in the corner. Daniel suddenly saw everything through her eyes. He felt exposed, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," he said awkwardly. "It's not exactly festive." Victoria looked around slowly. Her eyes landed on Lily's drawing, on the single red candle flickering beside the tree, on the empty second stocking hanging from a thumbtack. "It's very festive," she said quietly. "It's just honest." That word hung in the air. Honest. Daniel swallowed. "Why are you here?" Victoria placed the paper bag on the table and removed her gloves. "Because earlier today, I signed off on our year-end performance bonuses." Daniel stiffened. He already knew he wasn't getting one. He hadn't hit every target. He'd missed meetings when Lily was sick. He braced himself. Victoria continued. "Your department head recommended reducing your bonus." Daniel forced a nod. "That makes sense. But I overruled it." He blinked. "You what?" Victoria met his eyes, and for the first time she didn't look like a CEO. She looked like someone carrying something heavy. I review internal reports personally, she said. I saw the timestamps on your submissions. 2:13 a.m. 3:47 a.m. I saw hospital Wi-Fi IP addresses logged into our system. Daniel felt his throat tighten. You never mentioned your daughter's illness in meetings, she continued. You never asked for extensions. You just delivered. He shrugged. It's my job. It's your life, she corrected. Silence settled between them. Snow tapped gently against the window. Then Victoria did something Daniel never expected. She sat down, not as his boss, but as a guest. I lost my father on Christmas Eve when I was 9, she said quietly. Daniel looked up. He was working, she continued, double shift. He wanted to buy me a bicycle. Her voice faltered slightly. He never came home. Daniel didn't know what to say. For years, she went on, I convinced myself that working harder meant honoring him. That success made the sacrifice worth it. She looked around the apartment again. But tonight, standing in that ballroom surrounded by executives and investors, I realized something. She paused. I built an empire, and I had no one to go home to. The clock on the microwave turned to 12:00 a.m. Christmas Day. Daniel felt something shift in the room. Victoria reached into her coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is your full bonus, she said. Not reduced, doubled. Daniel stared at it. That's not necessary. It is, she replied firmly, and that's not why I'm here. She gestured toward the paper bag. I drove past your address earlier. I didn't know what I'd say. I just